But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The big, the wealthy, the real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. They're irrelevant. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big all the big media companies. So they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. You know something? They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. Man.
There's been a lot of debate at the Capitol on bills relating to voter integrity.
Some lawmakers are pushing for measures such as requiring voters to show a photo ID before being allowed to cast a ballot. Another bill would criminalize anyone who delivers a ballot for someone unable to drive to the polls. Now, with so much emphasis on one vote for one person, you'd think lawmakers would make sure they follow the rules too. In tonight's CBS 42 Investigates, Nancy Wilson found out many don't.
It's a record vote. Clerk, please read the bill.
This is State Representative Debbie Riddle. She authored the bill that would require voters to show a photo ID.
Clerk, ring the bell. It's a record vote.
It's all about integrity.
Record vote.
But the integrity of one person, one vote doesn't apply at the legislature. We found many lawmakers vote more than once. Take a look. Riddle votes, turns around, votes again for State Rep Kemple. Rewind. And watch the men on the screen. Elkins goes to vote for Merritt, but Hancock is faster. Elkins heads back to his desk, but before he can vote, Joe Crabb turns around and beats him to it. There is so much going on during the vote on the HPV vaccine mandate, you really have to pay attention. Start with State Rep Hamilton at his desk. He leans over to vote a second time for his desk mate Dan Branch, then reaches back to vote for Charlie Howard and casts a fourth vote for Wayne Smith. He's not the only one scrambling to vote. Rewind the video and take a look at the top of the screen. State Reps West and Phillips both lean over to vote for themselves and their desk mates. Phillips votes a third time for Christian. On the left, Donna Howard votes for State Rep Vo. State Representative Dunham didn't have to leave his chair to cast 4 votes. One for himself, then for Coleman, Martinez Fisher, and then Vesey. Sometimes the voting is across party lines. Hartnett, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England, and Republican John Davis votes for Democrat Noriega. Most voters have no way of knowing if their lawmakers are actually casting their own vote. Even though the legislature is broadcast on cable TV, the cameras change from this to this when it's time to vote. But if you're sitting on the third floor gallery,
I certainly noticed that there appear to be far more votes on the tick board than there were people in the room.
As the vote is taken.
The question is on the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it? How could the Speaker of the House determine clearly how many voted aye and how many voted no? As we showed you, it turned out that the reason Speaker Boehner was able to determine that 2/3 delegates had voted aye was because the whole thing was scripted and in a teleprompter. So flash forward 1 week. Yesterday, at the Democratic National Convention, nearly the exact same thing happened.
The matter requires a 2/3 vote in the affirmative. All those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no. In the opinion of the... Let me do that again. All of those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no.
Now hold it right there. Everyone, as you saw in that video, so confused. These delegates aren't following the script, and Villaraigosa isn't sure how to proceed. The ayes clearly don't have a 2/3 majority. So what to do? Listen to the woman who comes up behind the mayor and says, just keep going. They're going to do what they're going to do.
And then you've got to let them do what they're going to do.
I'll do that one more time. All those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 have voted in the affirmative. The motion is adopted, and the platform has been amended as shown on the screen.
Just like at the RNC, leaders at the DNC really don't care what their delegates think. And just like at the RNC, the DNC scripted their vote. The only difference between Speaker Boehner and Mayor Villaraigosa is that the mayor kept stopping because he wasn't sure that he should keep reading the script. And scripted it was.
The name is Mohammed.
If people walked in to vote in the Vermont presidential primary and said the names of both living and dead people...
Here in John Adams.
Do you have an Adam Berger? You have a Travis Hall? Mohammed, please. Mohammed.
Could these people be offered ballots to vote for president without showing any identification?
What you don't need ID?
You said you
for
are
this,
who you are, your name is on there.
This vote, you need ID.
Nope.
You don't need ID?
No.
In Kazakhstan, you need ID to vote, you know?
If you go over to see Bridget, she will give you a local ballot.
I don't have my ID on me.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm. You're the second person who's done that today.
It's that simple, so I just fill this out and I can vote?
Yep.
Now, hang on, let me get my ID. Hang on.
We don't really need an ID either.
You don't?
No.
I would prefer Republican.
And here's
two
sides on the city ballot. You don't have to show.
I don't? Really?
She marked your name off.
You don't need my ID or anything?
If a man walked into a bar and objected to showing ID, what would happen?
You require a photo ID here?
Yes, we do. I'm very sorry that I can't serve you without an ID.
You don't care? That is racist.
I said, I'm sorry, I can't serve you without an ID.
No matter what the law says, we're denying you access to the voter records.
I walked up to the door, two gentlemen, one of them brandishing a nightstick. As I walked up, they closed ranks.
People in the Black Panther case did not admit, they did not appear.
The Justice Department blocked the South Carolina voter identification law.
I actually forgot my ID.
plagued by erroneous errors.
I'd try to vote 10 times. I don't know if they'd let me or not, but I'd try to. Yeah, that's right. I'd cheat to keep these bastards out. I would.
This whole so-called voter intimidation controversy is just a tool by the Republicans.
Activist Quanell X took money from those needing help and gave little in return.
Yeah, absolutely. Every vote counts and you only get one.
Flawed record-keeping and human error allowing people who are not citizens of the United States to vote.
They have no way to verify citizenship. Under the 1992 motor voter law, they're not required to ask for proof.
It's intended to suppress the vote, particularly suppress the vote with low-income and minority people.
953 dead people voted.
Perhaps the most targeted assault on voting rights since Jim Crow.
And they're going to be in our communities out there registering voters and doing the same shenanigans that got Acorn in trouble before.
The only reason that the liberals don't want photo ID in order for people to vote is because it makes it easier for them to cheat at the polls.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Well, I've already shown you video out of Missouri where GOP officials attempted to railroad the selection of delegates at the St. Charles caucus. And I also showed you video out of Athens, Clark County, Georgia, where state officials steamrolled over caucus goers by forcing an unapproved slate of delegates down their throats. Well, now comes video out of Washington State, where local activists attempted to game the system by creating what they called a unity slate. Here's some of that video.
You are about to elect delegates to the state convention. Right. And who that is depends on your votes. Now, most districts don't have a majority for any of one of the three major candidates for president. None of them have majorities. So we looked at that and we said, why don't we create one group of people that represents all three campaigns, representatives from every three campaigns, and we'll put them on a list and we'll ask all three campaigns' delegates, you, to vote for them.
So let me catch you up on what's going on here. This is at the Pierce County 2nd District Delegate Caucus. The man in the video is Alex Hayes. He's the executive director of Mainstream Republicans of Washington. It's not the same as the official Washington State Republican Party. Let's be clear about that. Hayes is trying to convince caucus goers to vote for a unity slate. He says he wants delegates who are Romney, Gingrich, and Santorum supporters to form a coalition in order to block the delegates of Ron Paul. Listen.
We didn't do this until we saw three legislative districts get taken over in King County by the Ron Paul folks. And we saw how they were willing to behave. So at that moment, we decided we had to be a bit more careful, and this represents that commitment of being more careful.
Now, to be clear, taken over by the Ron Paul folks? In King County, Paul supporters have shown up in large numbers, and they are winning through the process the delegate slots. Hayes, who says he is presenting this unity slate on behalf of the Romney campaign, says that he must do so because of the savagery of Paul supporters.
Most years, we're not forced to do this. But this year, we have been forced to do this because of the savagery of the opposition we're facing. And so that's a pretty strong phrase. But if you had seen what it is like when they prevail and they take control, it is very bad.
Andy Jacobson, who was at that Pierce County precinct meeting, says most people were confused about that unity slate.
As they're starting the meeting, they're passing out this unity slate. So, and you know, it was the weirdest thing because it looked like it was coming from the people who were actually leading the meeting. In my case, that was not the case, as I understand it, in other districts. But in the 28th, it was pretty apparent that it was coming from the leadership of the meeting.
So the plan in that one precinct in Pierce County, it apparently worked. But what exactly does that mean? Here's what you need to know. Alex Hayes, who said in that video that he's supporting Romney, well, he may have actually duped those caucus goers by pretending they had a common enemy in Congressman Ron Paul. Apparently, the Santorum National Campaign, they were pretty upset when they heard about this unity slate. You see, the strategy appeared to be that they were going to block Ron Paul from getting delegates. Well, why would you do that? As I've told you, despite what most of the media is saying, Paul is winning huge numbers of delegates in Washington, Iowa, Maine and Alaska, in Colorado, Minnesota, Nevada, and Missouri. But Rick Santorum is not, and yet he has said that his strategy nationally is to prevent Governor Romney and any other candidate from getting to that magic number of 1,144 delegates needed before the convention in August in order to secure the nomination. So the unity slate, it doesn't help Santorum at all. It actually weakens his position by sharing delegates with Romney. Which is why, from what I've been told, the National Santorum campaign has put the word out.
Why are they so scared of Ron Paul?
Well, Ron Paul makes a lot of sense, and more people ought to listen to him.
It's time we quit this. It's time. It's trillions of dollars we're spending on these wars. You've heard the war propaganda that is liable to lead us into the sixth war, and I worry about that position. Iran does not have an air force that can come here. They can't even make enough gasoline for themselves.
As the race for the Republican nomination heats up, there is one candidate who has been largely ignored by the mainstream media. Shame on us. He deserves more attention from us than he's getting.
We're in absolute panic mode because they've looked at the numbers and they know Ron Paul is the real front runner in the 2012 election.
We have a top tier. It is Mitt Romney, Rick Perry, and Michelle Bachmann.
We have a new top tier, and it's Perry, Mitt Romney, and Bachmann.
There's now a top tier in this race, at least for now, of Romney, Perry, and Bachmann.
I mean, I think that's fair to say. Really fair to say? You're not forgetting, I don't know, anyone, say an ideologically consistent 12-term congressman who came within less than 200 votes of winning the straw poll. Isn't anyone going to give that gentleman a little vote?
When Ron Paul ran for the Republican nomination in 2008, he talked about the economy imploding, the untenable nature of the national debt, the eventual destruction of our currency, and a limited role for government. In the 4 years since then, a lot of the things Ron Paul warned us about have happened. We're deeper in debt, a lot deeper. The dollar is worth quite a bit less, and the country is more divided maybe than at any time since the Civil War.
Pretending Ron Paul doesn't exist for some reason has been going on for weeks.
A new Gallup survey showing Rick Perry running second to Mitt Romney, knocking down Iowa favorite Michelle Bachmann to fourth.
Behind who? The media does remember Ron Paul. It's only to reassure themselves how there's no need to remember Ron Paul.
Right now, live, right next to the bus behind us, Ron Paul is speaking.
And guess what, Paul? If you get video of Sarah Palin or get a soundbite from her, bring that back to us. You can hold the Ron Paul stuff.
The ever-presidential hopeful embodies the notion of personal freedom and fidelity to the Constitution. It would be Texas Republican Congressman Ron Paul.
He's gotten more money from the military than all the other Republicans combined, and he's gotten more than Obama got. Think about that.
You set the record. In the history of American politics, nobody has ever raised more money on a single day than you.
The astute citizen will recall that Ross Perot warned us of much of this. But what did some do with this wise third-party advice? They made fun of his charts and haircut. They said Perot will spoil George Bush's chance of getting elected. They said he'll preempt conservative votes and get Bill Clinton elected. And Bill did get elected, but would the Republicans have governed any differently? Clinton expanded the bureaucracies of Washington, gutted the U.S. manufacturing base with NAFTA, opened the borders to illegals, and undermined American sovereignty with such things as PD Directive 25. But the Republican George W. Bush did exactly the same. In fact, most would say that the younger Bush and now Obama have expanded the oppressiveness of government even worse.
Pulled her over for driving while on her cell phone and also for speeding. She refuted the allegation. She stepped out of her minivan and he tasered her while her two children sat in the car.
So what did Ross Perot really spoil compared to Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Barack Obama? Ross warned us that American jobs would go south and beyond, that NAFTA would destroy the middle class, that debt would overwhelm us. Both Clinton and Bush promoted NAFTA and the globalist agenda in defiance of the middle class, and debt has since overwhelmed us. Ross warned us of the Flint Michigans and Roger Smiths that would come. But who listened? Ross Perot was spoiling the multinationals' party.
为什么强大的国家都会走向灭亡呢？古希腊、罗马帝国、不列颠帝国、美国，因为他们都犯同样的错误。与原来使得他们成功的原则背道而驰。 美国政府企图以庞大的开支和税收来摆脱严重的经济衰退，巨额的所谓刺激开支，庞大的医疗改革，政府接管私有企业，债务累累，他们都犯同样的错误，与原来使得他们成功的原则背道而驰。美国政府企图以庞大的开支和税收来摆脱严重的政府接管私有企业，债务累累。当然，我们是他们的大债主，现在他们都得给我们干活。
Remember something, if you will, about voting. Voting is not a horse race. You're not going there, gee, I gotta pick the winner, so I can brag to my friends that, oh, I picked so-and-so and he or she won. Voting is voting your heart and voting your conscience. And when you do that, don't ever, ever let a Democrat or Republican tell you you've wasted your vote. In fact, the fact is, if you don't vote your heart and conscience, then you have wasted your vote. Also, the key to all of this, and I know I have a little bit of experience, the key to all of this is we must open up the debates. Let's go back in history for a moment, if we may. The year was 1992, and there was a little Texan, another little Texan. We got a Texan here today, but we had another Texan then by the name of Ross Perot who ran. Now, Ross Perot got 1 out of 5 votes. He got 19.7% that year. Well, in 1992, all presidential debates were under the National League of Women Voters, which is essentially a fairly neutral group. You have conservative, you have liberal, you have independents. But what happened after 1992? Here's what happened. Perot scared the establishment so badly that our illustrious Congress took the presidential debates away from the National League of Women Voters, and they created another federal bureaucracy called the National Debate Commission, which I might add happens to be run by the former heads of the Democratic and Republican parties. So what happened when 96 came around? Ross Perot had qualified for nearly 30 million of your tax dollars in the 92 race. Yet, Bill Clinton and Bob Dole got together. Bob Dole did not want Perot in the 96 debates because he felt it would erode from his conservative base. So him and Clinton got together and cut a deal. Clinton agreed because Clinton didn't want debates at all. He was so far ahead, all a debate could do was bring him down. So what happened was the two people cut a deal to eliminate Perot from the 96 debates. They took it to the Federal Debate Commission, and of course it was rubber stamped. So we did not hear Ross Perot in 1996, a person that got 1 out of 5 votes. We were not allowed to hear him. A person that qualified for millions of our tax dollars, we were not allowed to hear him. Why? Because two people made that decision. Now, I ask you, is that what democracy is supposed to be?
Contrary to popular belief, the U.S. presidential election is not a two-man race. That's a fact Libertarian presidential candidate Gary Johnson can't emphasize enough. The former New Mexico governor is suing the Commission on Presidential Debates for excluding him from its upcoming events. On Monday, a spokesman for the campaign told U.S. News someone has to stand up and call this what it is, a rigged system designed entirely to protect and perpetuate the two-party duopoly. In Johnson's eyes, that rigged system is a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act, giving him grounds to sue.
This is our president, Barack Obama. He is in front of a flag. He works for you, the regular middle-class American that doesn't make over $250,000 per year. This is Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney. He's also backed by a flag, an enormous flag. He works for you, the regular American that believes in a hard day's work and the promise that prosperity awaits those who take the initiative to be job creators. This is Libertarian presidential candidate Gary Johnson. He's blurry and in black and white. He doesn't even have a flag and frame. He wants to do crazy things like eliminate deficit spending, unlimited detentions, and our beloved complex tax code. To put it simply, he is not a Democrat or a Republican. Mitt Romney and President Obama don't agree with these extreme views, and Johnson shouldn't be allowed to present them. Tell the Presidential Debate Commission to protect the status quo. Tell them to keep Gary Johnson out of the debate to make sure we keep a Democrat or Republican in office.
The biggest fear for the RNC is that the appearance at the convention will be that 100% of the delegates don't want Mitt Romney. The only problem is they don't. Whether you like them or not, almost 20% of the delegates who will be in Tampa next week don't support Romney. Nearly 20% support Congressman Ron Paul, others support Rick Santorum, and still others Newt Gingrich. But the delegates who support Santorum or Gingrich have no ability to cause problems because of the RNC's 5-state rule. You see, under that rule, a delegate must have a plurality of delegates from 5 states in order to have their name nominated from the convention floor. As I've told you, unlike Gingrich and Santorum, Congressman Paul has that plurality. The majority of delegates in Maine, Minnesota, Nevada, Iowa, and Virginia are Paul supporters. He also had a majority in Oregon and Louisiana, plus a large group of 17 delegates from Massachusetts. Now, as I've told you, the RNC for months has been stripping those delegates of their credentials. The Massachusetts 17, as they're called, removed. The entire Louisiana Liberty delegation removed. Oklahoma not seated because the RNC Rules Committee allowed the state to break its own rules. The same thing happened in Oregon. But even after continuously breaking their own rules and stripping so many states of these delegates, the RNC came up short. The 5-state rule was still a problem because a plurality of 5 states was still intact. Again, Maine, Minnesota, Iowa, Nevada, and Virginia. So what to do? Well, just change the rules. You see, this week, the RNC Rules Committee tried to take care of their 5-state problem by changing the 5-state.
If this were a dictatorship, it'd be a heck of a lot easier. Just so long as I'm the dictator.
And you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to wonder exactly what President George W. Bush knew about the attack, and when he knew it. According to the official White House version, it was at this moment in a Florida classroom that Bush learned the second plane had hit the World Trade Center and that the U.S. was under attack. But here's what George Bush himself said almost 3 months later when asked about September 11th.
I was sitting outside the classroom waiting to go in, and I saw an airplane hit the tower of a TV. You know, the TV was obviously on, and I used to fly myself, and I said, well, there's one terrible pilot. And it said it must have been a horrible accident. But I was whisked off there. I didn't have much time to think about it.
Now, wait a minute. George Bush was told about the second plane while he was inside the classroom. So you just heard him describe seeing the first plane crash on television that day. But that's impossible. No one saw the first plane crash on TV on September the 11th because the videotape of it didn't surface until the next day. So how could George Bush have seen what he said he saw?
So they have a really delicate balance to walk between keeping us relatively fearful, but not so fearful that we stop what we're doing and really examine how it is that they've been waging
There are a lot of people who lie and get away with it.
And that we will in fact find weapons or evidence of weapons programs that are conclusive.
I don't think we'll discover anything myself.
It appears that there were not weapons of mass destruction there.
You said you knew where they were.
I did not.
We know where they are. They're in the area around Tikrit and Baghdad and east, west, south, and north.
Well, first of all, I haven't lied.
There are a lot of people who lie and get away with it.
Talking about lies and your allegation that there was bulletproof evidence of ties between Al-Qaeda and Iraq. Was that a lie?
Intelligence gathered by this and other governments leaves no doubt that the Iraqi regime continues to possess and conceal some of the most lethal weapons ever devised. Our people are going to find out the truth, and the truth will say that this intelligence is good intelligence, no doubt in my mind.
I don't know anybody that I can think of who has contended that the Iraqis had nuclear weapons.
And we believe he has, in fact, reconstituted nuclear weapons.
Saddam Hussein is determined to get his hands on a nuclear bomb.
We cannot wait for the final proof. He's got him. He's got him. The smoking gun. He's got him. That could come in the form of a mushroom cloud.
Colin Powell didn't lie.
My colleagues, every statement I make today is backed up by sources, solid sources. These are not assertions. What we're giving you are facts and conclusions based on solid intelligence.
He has not developed any significant capability with respect to weapons of mass destruction. He is unable to project conventional power against his neighbors.
Our people are going to find out the truth.
I have not suggested there's a connection between Iraq and the 9/11.
You have said in the past that it was, quote, pretty well confirmed.
No, I never said that.
Okay. I think that is...
That's absolutely not. What I said was, it's been pretty well confirmed that he did go to Prague and he did meet with a senior official of the Iraqi intelligence service.
Saddam Hussein aids and protects terrorists, including members of Al-Qaeda. Secretly and without fingerprints, he could provide one of his hidden weapons to terrorists or help them develop their own. What did Iraq have to do with what?
The attack on the World Trade Center.
Nothing.
He said there were three main reasons for going to war in Iraq. Weapons of mass destruction.
Saddam Hussein has gone to elaborate lengths, spent enormous sums, taken great risks to build and keep weapons of mass destruction.
The claim that Iraq was sponsoring terrorists who had attacked us on 9/11.
Before September the 11th, many in the world believed that Saddam Hussein could be contained.
And that Iraq had purchased nuclear materials from Niger.
The regime is seeking a nuclear bomb.
All three of those turned out to be false.
First, just if I might correct a misperception, I don't think we ever said, at least I know I didn't say, that there was a direct connection between September the 11th and Saddam Hussein.
Who does the president think he's effing kidding?
Of course, it was information that was mistaken.
There are a lot of people who lie and get away with it.
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere. Nope, no weapons over there. Maybe under here.
When you have a precedent set like that, and you have somebody, George Tenet, acknowledging in his book that he knew that the administration was deceiving the American people into a situation that is murdering young men and women from this country and others, that George Tenet and Dick Cheney and Condoleezza Rice and George Bush et al. Should be in fucking jail.
I'm mad as hell, but I'm not going to take this.
What I wanted to ask you about, because James Baker says that he's looking for something between cut and run and stay the course.
Well, listen, we've never been stay the course, George.
We will stay the course.
We will stay the course. We will stay the course. We will stay the course. We're just going to stay the course. We're going to stay the course. We must stay the course. We will stay the course. This country will stay the course. We will stay the course. We will stay the course. But we will stay the course. We'll stay the course. We'll stay the course.
I want to say this to the television audience. Read my lips. Well, I'm not a crook.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I didn't say change we can believe in tomorrow.
The parallels are frightening when they blame someone else. When there's lies and corruption, the economy's just not right. When there's ignorance and apathy, and they say they'll improve your life. You know the politician for a dollar will pass a law to sell your rights.
I did not make a promise that I would get everything done, 100%, when I was elected as president.
I will promise you this, that if we have not gotten our troops out by the time I am president, it is the first thing I will do. I will get our troops home. We will bring an end to this war. You can take that to the bank. When I promise that we are going to bring this war in Iraq to a close in 2009, I want the American people to understand that I opposed this war in 2002, 2003, 4, 5, 6, and 7. so you can have confidence that I will be serious about ending this war. Iran, they spend 1/100th of what we spend on the military. Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, these countries are tiny compared to the Soviet Union. They don't pose a serious threat to us.
Close down Guantanamo, restore habeas corpus, say no to renditions, no to wireless wiretaps. I have said repeatedly that I intend to close Guantanamo, and I will follow through on that. I've said repeatedly that America doesn't torture, and I'm going to make sure that we don't torture. Those are part and parcel of an effort to regain America's moral stature in the world.
And as president, I'm going to make it impossible for congressmen or lobbyists to slip pork barrel projects or corporate welfare into laws when no one's looking, because when I'm president, meetings where laws are written will be more open to the public, no more secrecy. That's a commitment I make to you as president. When there's a tax bill being debated in Congress, you will know the names of the corporations that would benefit and how much money they would get. And we will put every corporate tax break and every pork barrel project online for every American to see. You will know who asked for them, and you can decide whether your representative is actually representing you.
That wasn't enough. Here we are with 1,100 pages. 1,100 pages not one member of this body has read. Not one. There may be some staffer over in the Appropriations Committee that read all of this last night. I don't know how you could read 1,100 pages between midnight and now. Not one member's read this. What happened to the promise that we're going to let the American people see what's in this bill for 48 hours? But nope, we don't have time to do that.
As president, I will ensure the financial rescue plan helps stop foreclosures and protects your money instead of enriching CEOs. And I'll put in place the common sense regulations that I've been calling for throughout this campaign so that Wall Street can never cause a crisis like this again. That's the change we need.
It is absolutely true that NAFTA was a mistake.
A senior member of the Obama campaign called the Canadian government within the last month to say that when Senator Obama talks about opting out of the free trade deal, the Canadian government shouldn't worry. The operative said it's just campaign rhetoric and don't take it seriously.
Campaign officials called the U.S. ambassador to Canada and say, don't worry, it's just campaign rhetoric about NAFTA.
The Canadian government put out a statement indicating that this was just not true. So I don't know who the sources. It wasn't true.
Amid all of the denials, sources at the highest level of the Canadian government who first confirmed that a call was made, late this afternoon, reconfirmed that a call was made.
I have never supported the President's Recovery Act, all right, the stimulus. No time, nowhere, no how.
I think there is need for economic stimulus.
I will preserve and protect a woman's right to choose.
The right next step in the fight to preserve the sanctity of life is to see Roe v. Wade overturned.
Look, I was an independent during the time of Reagan-Bush. I'm not trying to return to Reagan-Bush.
The principles that Ronald Reagan espoused are as true today as they were when he spoke them.
Well, that's what we did in Massachusetts, and that is we put together an exchange, and the president's copying that idea. I'm glad to hear that.
Obamacare is bad news, and if I'm president of the United States, I will repeal it.
I don't think I've ever hired an illegal in my life. We hired a lawn company to mow our lawn, and they had illegal immigrants that were working there.
But I believe the world is getting warmer. I believe that humans contribute to that. My view is that we don't know what's causing climate change on this planet.
Republican Mitt Romney says he will not sign a no new taxes pledge.
I'm proud to be the only major candidate for president to sign the tax pledge.
Just signed a piece of legislation extending the ban on certain assault weapons. I do not support any new legislation of an assault weapon ban nature.
This guy has played both sides of the fence with equal fervor.
The TARP got paid back, and it kept the financial system from collapsing.
So you feel it was well worth it?
Well, it was the right thing to do. TARP ought to be ended.
TARP ought to be ended.
You're only allowed a certain number of flips before people begin to doubt your character.
I think people understand that I'm a man of steadiness and constancy.
Who is this guy? Can you trust him?
It's an issue of character.
The core issues for a man, as you said earlier, who doesn't seem to have a core.
I'm running for office, for Pete's sake.
These are the steps that we must take.
There are plenty of steps we can take
right now
to
start getting our economy back on track.
to help create jobs and grow this economy.
If we are going to deal with our dependence on foreign oil,
If we're going to end our dependence on foreign oil,
We'll recruit an army of new teachers.
I want to recruit an army of new teachers.
make college affordable.
make college more affordable. Solar and wind and biodiesel. Solar and wind and biodiesel. And repair our crumbling roads and bridges. We've got crumbling roads and bridges. At a time when so many people are struggling to keep up. A moment when so many people are still struggling. Finally meet the challenges that we face as a nation. As we look ahead to the challenges we face as a nation, this is our time to put our people back to work.
To put more people back to work.
Tonight, more Americans are out of work. We still got friends out there and family who are looking for work. More of you have lost your homes. All across America, there are homes that are still underwater.
We all know America's going through tough times right now.
We've gone through some tough times. We will rise or fall. We rise and fall as one nation. As one nation. As one people. As one people. It's time to realize that we are in this together, because I believe we're all in it together. That America is a place where you can make it if you try. A place where you can make it if you try. Because I believe in you. Because I believe in you. Your hopes. Your hopes. Your dreams. Your dreams. Knock on some doors for me. Knock on doors with me. And make some calls for me. And make phone calls with me. If you are willing to work with me, if you're willing to work even harder in this election, then I promise you, change will come.
Does the government work for us, or do we work for the government? Can a man who essentially agrees with President Obama on all the key issues realistically become the Republican nominee for president?
Let me speak very directly and candidly about where I stand. In 1985, I helped found a company. I learned how America competes with companies in other countries.
The money he has that he didn't inherit is what he made as a private equity mogul, shutting down companies, liquidating their assets, and firing their American workers.
Later, when I served as governor of Massachusetts, I used the skills I had learned in 25 years in business to streamline state government.
To get that kind of money, you've got to cozy up as an incumbent to all of the special interest groups who can go out and raise money for you from their members. And that kind of relationship has an influence on the way you're going to vote.
Romney is one of the biggest flip-floppers to ever grace the GOP stage.
I believe that abortion should be safe and legal in this country.
I believe people understand that I'm firmly pro-life.
You just can't trust a word he says.
I have never seen a guy change his positions on so many things so fast.
I have never supported the President's Recovery Act, all right, the stimulus. No time, nowhere, no how have I supported the President's stimulus. I think there is need for economic stimulus. Americans have lost about $11 trillion in net worth, and government can help make that up in a very difficult time.
He was pro-gun control. Then he becomes a lifetime member of the NRA.
Mitt Romney is a complete hypocrite and phony.
I think you'll find that I've been as consistent as human beings can be.
If you're looking for someone who's never changed any positions on any policies, then I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy.
I think Americans just don't know sometimes which Mitt Romney they're dealing with.
The new cover of Time magazine today asks the question, why don't they like me?
Mitt Romney spends little to no time doing interviews on the TV, whereas the other candidates are working the Sunday news show circuit like a politician running for president.
Romney often bypassing reporters on the rope line.
Remember earlier this year how Romney got $1 million donation to an organization that just suddenly ceased to exist the next day?
It's really someone wanting to give Romney the money while staying in the shadows.
Mitt Romney stealing all of Barack Obama's big dollar Wall Street donors.
A good chunk of his funds came from his buddies on Wall Street, like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Bank of America.
To get that kind of money, you've got to cozy up as an incumbent to all of the special interest groups who can go out and raise money for you from their members. That kind of relationship has an influence on the way you're going to vote.
But look, I'm not going to spend my time going after Ben Bernanke. I'm not going to take my effort and focus on the Federal Reserve.
Should the chairman of the Federal Reserve be appointed again? I think he's doing a good job.
You do? Yes, I do. And I think it's important to have the Fed as an independent agency. I do not think you want to have the Congress of the United States trying to pull strings at the Fed.
He physically, personality-wise, comes across as if he was designed by East German scientists to be the perfect android politician.
I thought it was such a disastrous interview for Mitt Romney.
Romney's donations from lobbyists actually come to more than all of his GOP counterparts combined.
Do you really want this cat to be president?
Romney can't win. He's dead in the water.
There are a lot of reasons not to elect me.
Peggy Joseph took her daughter out of school early Wednesday for this. Her emotions ran high following Obama's speech.
It was the most memorable time of my life. It was a touching moment because I never thought this day would ever happen. I won't have to worry about putting gas in my car. I won't have to worry about paying my mortgage. You know, if I help him, he's going to help me.
Obama.
You got Obama phone?
Yes, everybody in Cleveland, low minority, got Obama phone. Keep Obama in president, you know. He gave us a phone.
He gave you a phone?
Do more.
How did he give you a phone?
You sign up if you on food stamps, you on Social Security, you got low income, you disability.
I have a question. Okay, what's wrong with Romney again?
Romney, he sucks.
Suggested Romney's not only out of touch with the economic realities of regular Americans.
The frontrunner can't shake the out-of-touch rich guy image.
Those voters who may feel he's out of touch.
Being someone who seems woefully out of touch.
Saying he's out of touch with reality.
He's out of touch. Out of touch.
I know what it's like to worry whether you're going to get fired. There were a couple of times I wondered whether I was going to get a pink slip. Corporations are people, my friend. We can raise taxes on... Of course they are. Rick, I'll tell you what. 10,000 bucks? $10,000 bet? I get speaker's fees from time to time, but not very much.
What counts as not very much money to Mitt Romney is $374,000. That's what he earned in speaker's fees in 1 year in 2010.
But I have some great friends that are NASCAR team owners.
I drive a Mustang and a Chevy pickup truck. Ann drives a couple of Cadillacs, actually. I'm not concerned about the very poor. We have a safety net there. If it needs a repair, I'll fix it. I should also tell my story. I'm also unemployed. I like being able to fire people who provide services to me.
You on LinkedIn?
Yes. I'm not sure about these cookies. They don't look like you made them. Did you make those cookies? You did you? No. They came from the local 7-Eleven bakery or wherever.
Right. That's right. I don't have a sign. You're not talking to. You didn't talk to him. He doesn't have a sign. Why don't you tell me why you're here? We're here because we are sick and tired of the government taking our money and spending it in ways that we have no say in. We have no say whatsoever. The government is being run by the Federal Reserve Bank, and they are getting all of our money. Our kids' money, our grandkids' money. It's not fair. What if
in a world where one man cannot lose, the fate of the world rests in one top secret mission.
This is my last election. Yeah, I understand. After my election, I have more flexibility.
I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir and Stanford.
Your mission is simple, Mr. Obama. Win one last election to gain unchecked flexibility, weaken our defenses, and fundamentally transform the world. Dmitry will transmit the information.
I transmit this information to Vladimir and Stanford.
Starring Barack Obama as President Flexible, Dmitry Medvedev as Dr. Transmitkov, and Vladimir Putin as himself.
After my election, I have more flexibility. After my election, I have more flexibility.
Operation Hot Mic.
And I think it's time for Washington, Republican and Democrat, to have a leader that will fight to make sure we resolve the issues rather than continuously look for partisan opportunity, for score settling, and for opportunities to link closer to lobbyists. I don't have lobbyists running my campaign. I don't have lobbyists that are tied to my...
That's not true, Governor. That is not true. Ron Kaufman is a lobbyist.
He's
How
not.
can you say you don't have
Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said, Glenn?
You say you don't have lobbyists running your
I said I don't have lobbyists running my campaign, and he's not running my campaign.
He is one of your senior advisors.
He's an advisor, and the person who runs my campaign is Beth Myers, and I have a whole staff of deputy campaign managers.
And has Beth Myers been on the plane with you?
Beth Myers has been on the plane with me, and Beth Myers is running my campaign. Absolutely. Do I know
Ron's just there's window dressing. He's a potted plant on the plane.
Ron is a wonderful friend and advisor. He's not paid. He's an advisor like many others. But I do not have lobbyists running my campaign. Glenn, I'm appreciative that you think that's funny, but Ron Kaufman is not even in on the senior strategy meetings of our campaign. We don't have him in it.
Who does have lobbyists running their campaign by that definition?
Excuse me, Glenn. He is not in on the senior strategy meetings of our campaign.
Was he in debate sessions at all? Anytime? He's never.
At any time? Has he ever been in a debate session? Sure. Is that a senior strategy meeting?
Is that a strategic?
Is that a senior strategy meeting of our campaign?
We can take one more question, then we have to.
Let me go back. Let me go back and complete the point I was making. My campaign is not based on Washington lobbyists. I haven't been in Washington. I don't have lobbyists at my elbows that are arguing for one industry or another industry, and I do not have favors I have to repay to people who've been in Washington for years, nor scores I have to settle. And I'm going to Washington to make things happen. And somebody doesn't put the kind of financial resources that I put into this campaign and the personal resources I put into this campaign in order to do favors for lobbyists. I'm going to Washington to help the American people. And that's what this campaign is all about.
We got to go. Thank you.
He's not running my campaign. He's not running my campaign. He is not running my campaign.
There was another lobbyist involved in your senior management too.
Listen to my words. All right? Listen to my words.
That's semantics. So running your campaign and giving you advice? Come on. He's on the plane.
Hey, Glenn, save your arguments for
He approaches me, Eric, okay?
Let's talk. Let's you and I talk.
I'll be glad to talk. Anytime.
It is just wonderful to be back in Oregon, and over the last 15 months we've traveled to every corner of the United States. I've now been in 57 states. I think one left to go. Alaska and Hawaii I was not allowed to go to, even though I really wanted to visit, but my staff would not justify it. I'm going to be turning 50 in a week, so I'm starting to think a little bit more about Medicare eligibility. I'm going to be turning 50 in a week, so I'm going to be turning 50 in a week, so.
It seems that Barack Obama doesn't even know his own birthday. Surprise, surprise. After spending more than 2 years in office deflecting questions surrounding his correct birth date and his correct birthplace, Obama officially, in front of cameras, missed his own birthday. On Friday, July 15th, he announced that his birthday was, quote, next week. Actually, according to the document that he released in April and claimed to be his official birth certificate, his birthday would not be for another 3 weeks, on August the 4th. The president's apparent error got practically no coverage from major media. But this is not the first time that Obama has had birthday-related issues. As WorldNet Daily reported last August, Obama's age on his official MySpace page has been fluctuating erratically, with him actually getting 4 years younger on his last birthday in 2010. In 2009, the president's authorized page on the social networking site indicated that he was a whopping 52 years old, when it should have read 48. If he were indeed born on August the 4th, 1961, as the White House maintains. Ironically, today, Obama's MySpace page has removed all references to Obama's birthday. Gee, we have to wonder why the man who claims to be the President of the United States of America and who his minions claim is the smartest, most brilliant man in the world, we have to wonder why he doesn't even know his own birthday. Gee, we wonder why that could be. I know. It's probably the result of time warp from traveling through all 57 states back during the campaign. I suggest that perhaps he create a brand new government position, the position of birthday czar.
You get to ask the questions you like. I get to give the answers I like.
You have a question. You have a question, and let me answer your question. You had your turn, madam. Let me have mine.
I don't know how many hundred times I've said this too. This is an unusual interview. All right, let's do it again. Let's do it again.
Brett was asking him some really basic questions that voters want to know. It's not a gotcha. Like, what did you do your college dissertation on?
At times, you thought it would be a model for the nation.
You're wrong, Brett.
No, I mean, there's tape out there.
No.
He said he thought it was overly aggressive.
He did? He said that to you? He said it was overly aggressive?
He did.
Wow.
And as we were walking in the walk and talk, and then after we finished, he went to his holding room and then came back and said he didn't like the interview and thought it was uncalled for.
Guys, we have press avails and press conferences almost every day, and that's where I answer the questions. When I'm meeting people, it's not a good time to answer questions.
How about now?
Important and require good attention and a thorough answer.
How about now, Governor?
And he got very angry and said, you guys shouldn't be asking me questions. I have press availabilities every day. He doesn't.
Every day is once
it's like,
every 10 days.
He's been so far away from the national press. He doesn't want to talk to
investigation raises questions about some established narratives in the early life, school, and work of President Obama. It calls the young Obama a child of privilege, not hardship.
You see, Barack and I were both raised by families who didn't have much in the way of money or material possessions, but who had given us something far more valuable: their unconditional love.
I'm sure he had a difficult childhood, given the circumstances with his parents and so forth, but from a financial standpoint, a social standpoint, and so forth, it was not an underprivileged childhood.
The Examiner reports that the Indonesian neighborhood Menteng, where his mother and stepfather raised young Barry Sotero, was the most exclusive in Jakarta. Later sent to live with his grandparents in Hawaii, where his grandmother was a bank vice president, he attended the exclusive Punahou School, then Columbia University, and later Harvard Law School. In his first job as a Chicago community organizer, he rejected more lucrative offers.
To me, he was still the guy who picked me up for our dates in a car that was so rusted out. I could actually see the pavement going by in a hole in the passenger side door.
But while he worked in the city's impoverished South Side, he lived in exclusive Hyde Park. Of his 12 years as a lecturer at the University of Chicago Law School, Time magazine said in 2008, quote, "Within a few years he had become a rock star professor with hordes of devoted students." But student evaluations obtained by the Examiner tell a different story. In 2003, only a third of students recommended his courses.
It steadily went down in the last 5 or 6 years that he was there. He was among the lowest ranked professors.
Nor did the future president leave any record of scholarly writings, while similarly credentialed colleagues wrote prolifically in law journals.
He showed up for classes, he gave his lectures, and he was gone.
Number four, we cut federal employment by at least 10% through attrition. And finally, we say to federal employees, you're not going to make more money than the people in the private sector who are paying for you. We link their compensation.
Congressman Paul.
On foreign aid, that should be the easiest thing to cut. It's not authorized in the Constitution that we can take money from you and give it to particular countries around the world. To me, foreign aid is taking money from poor people in this country and giving it to rich people in poor countries, and it becomes weapons of war, essentially. No matter how well motivated it is.
Congressman Paul, would you cut aid to Israel?
I would cut all foreign aid. I would treat everybody equally and fairly. And I don't think aid to Israel actually helps them. I think it teaches them to be dependent. We're on a bankruptcy course, and look at what's the result of all that foreign aid we gave to Egypt. I mean, their dictator that we pumped up, we spent all these billions of dollars, and now there's a more hostile regime in Egypt, and that's what's happening all around Israel. That foreign aid makes Israel dependent on us. It softens them for their own economy, and they should have their sovereignty back. They should be able to deal with their neighbors at their own will.
Should we cut foreign aid to Israel?
If you've been successful, you didn't get there on your own. You didn't get there on your own. I'm always struck by people who think, well, it must be because I was just so smart. There are a lot of smart people out there. It must be because I worked harder than everybody else. Let me tell you something. There are a whole bunch of hard-working people out there. If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we had that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. The internet didn't get invented on its own. Everybody knows that it makes no sense that you send a kid to the emergency room for a treatable illness like asthma. They end up taking up a hospital bed. It costs they just gave them treatment early, and they got some treatment and a breathalyzer or an inhalator, not a breathalyzer. I haven't had much sleep in the last 48 hours, so. What they'll say is, well, it costs too much money. But you know what? It would cost about the same as what we would spend over the course of 10 years. It would cost what it would cost us. All right. Okay. We're going to. It would cost us about the same as it would cost for about, hold on one second, I can't hear myself. But I'm glad you're fired up, though. I'm glad.
Does the government work for us, or do we work for the government? What if Democrats and Republicans were two wings of the same bird of prey? Tonight, what if elections don't matter? What if elections were actually useful tools for social control? What if they just provided the populace with meaningless participation in a process that validates an establishment that never meaningfully changes? What if that establishment doesn't want and doesn't have the consent of the governed? What if the two-party system was actually a mechanism used to limit so-called public opinion? What if there were more than two sides to every issue, but the two parties wanted to box you into a corner, one of their corners? What if there's no such thing as public opinion, because every thinking person has opinions that are uniquely his own? What if what we call public opinion was just a manufactured narrative that makes it easier to convince people that if their views are different, then there's something wrong with that, or there's something wrong with them? What if the whole purpose of the Democratic and Republican parties was not to expand voters' choices, but to limit them? What if the widely perceived differences between the two parties was just an illusion? What if the heart of the government policy remains the same no matter who's in the White House? What if the heart of government policy remains the same no matter what the people want? What if those vaunted differences between Democrat and Republican were actually just minor disagreements? What if both parties just want power and are willing to have young people fight meaningless wars in order to enhance that power? What if both parties continue to fight the war on drugs just to give bureaucrats and cops bigger budgets and more jobs? What if government policies didn't change when government leaders did? What if no matter who won an election, government stayed the same? What if government was really a revolving door for political hacks bent on exploiting the people once they're in charge? What if both parties supported welfare, war, debt, bailouts, and big government? What if the rhetoric that candidates displayed on the campaign trail was dumped after electoral victory? What if Barack Obama campaigned as an anti-war, pro-civil liberties candidate and then waged senseless wars while assaulting your rights that the Constitution is supposed to protect? What if George W. Bush campaigned on a platform of non-intervention and small government and then waged a foreign policy of muscular military intervention and a domestic policy of vast government borrowing and growth? What if Bill Clinton declared that the era of big government was over, but actually just convinced Republicans like Newt Gingrich that they can get what they want out of big government too? What if the Republicans went along with it? What if Ronald Reagan spent 6 years running for president, promising to shrink the government, but then the government grew while he was in the White House? What if, notwithstanding Reagan's ideas and cheerfulness and libertarian rhetoric, there really was no Reagan revolution at all? What if all this is happening again? What if Rick Santorum is being embraced by voters who want small government,
Even though Senator Santorum voted for the Patriot Act, for an expansion of Medicare, and for raising the debt ceiling by trillions of dollars? What if Mitt Romney is being embraced by voters who want anyone but Barack Obama, but they don't realize that Mitt Romney might as well be Barack Obama on everything from warfare to welfare? What if Ron Paul is being ignored by the media, not because, as it claims, he's unappealing or unelectable, but because he doesn't fit into the pre-manufactured public opinion mold used by the establishment to pigeonhole the electorate and create the so-called narrative that drives media coverage of elections? What if the biggest difference between most candidates was not substance, but style? What if those stylistic differences were packaged as substantive ones to reinforce the illusion of a difference between Democrats and Republicans? What if Mitt Romney wins and ends up continuing most of the same policies that Barack Obama promoted? What if Barack Obama's policies, too, are merely extensions of those from George W. Bush? What if a government that manipulated us could be fired? What if a government that lacked the true and knowing consent of the governed could be dismissed? What if it were possible to have a real game changer? What if we need a Ron Paul to preserve and protect our freedoms from the government? What if we could make elections matter again? What if we could do something about this? From New York, defending freedom every night of the week.
Now, there's one thing you might have noticed I don't complain about. Politicians. Everybody complains about politicians. Everybody says they suck. Yeah. Well, where do people think these politicians come from? They don't fall out of the sky. They don't pass through a membrane from another reality. They come from American parents and American families, American homes, American schools, American churches, American businesses, and American universities, and they're elected by American citizens. This is the best we can do, folks. This is what we have to offer. It's what our system produces. Garbage in, garbage out. If you have selfish, ignorant citizens, you're going to get selfish, ignorant leaders. And term limits ain't going to do you any good. You're just going to wind up with a brand new bunch of selfish, ignorant Americans. So maybe it's not the politicians who suck. Maybe something else sucks around here, like the public. Yeah, the public sucks. There's a nice campaign slogan for somebody. The public sucks. Fuck hope. Fuck hope. Because if it's really just the fault of these politicians, then where are all the other bright people of conscience? Where are all the bright, honest, intelligent Americans ready to step in and save the nation and lead the way? We don't have people like that in this country. Everybody's at the mall, scratching his ass, picking his nose, taking his credit card out of his fanny pack and buying a pair of sneakers with lights in them. So I have solved this little political dilemma for myself in a very simple way. On election day, I stay home. I don't vote. Fuck them. Fuck them. I don't vote. Two reasons I don't vote. First of all, it's meaningless. This country was bought and sold and paid for a long time ago. The shit they shuffle around every 4 years doesn't mean a fucking thing. And secondly, I don't vote because I believe if you vote, you have no right to complain. People like to twist that around, I know. They say, well, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. But where's the logic in that? If you vote, and you elect dishonest, incompetent people, and they get into office and screw everything up, well, you are responsible for what they have done. You caused the problem. You voted them in. You have no right to complain. I, on the other hand, who did not vote, who, in fact, did not even leave the house on election day, am in no way responsible for what these people have done and have every right to complain as loud as I want about the mess you created that I had nothing to do with. So I know that a little later on this year you're going to have another one of those really swell presidential elections that you like so much. You'll enjoy yourselves. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure as soon as the election is over, your country will improve immediately. As for me, I'll be home on that day doing essentially the same thing as you. The only difference is when I get finished masturbating, I'm going to have a little something to show for it, folks. Thank you very much.
System that everyone born and has to have a Social Security number, or you can't get anything. In fact, your parents can even go to jail if they don't get you a Social Security number. Now with the Indians, not only do we have a Social Security number for that area of indebtedness, but our reservation and all its value, including the people on it, not only are we indebted on the Social Security number bit, but we're also featuring the state attorney general of the state of South Dakota and all the other states that have Indian reservations. They trade that reservation and the value of that reservation and the value of its people, the value of its air, the value of its carbon emissions are traded on Wall Street. And through Dun & Bradstreet. It's listed. This value is put into financial instruments that are packaged and repackaged, just like the real estate fiasco. So we haven't even hit on all the swindles that Wall Street is visiting upon the people of America. You're nothing but a bunch of coupons for the United States government and the people who run it. That's it. American people, you're a commodity and you don't deserve anything else. And they're going to make sure you continue to be a commodity as long as the empire exists. As long as you allow the Constitution to be raped. This land now filled with Indians that are absolutely dependent on the government for everything. For everything. At any rate, you depend on the government, and what you'll end up with is poverty and a lot of paper. Because everything you do, the government requires a lot of paper. You have to fill out a lot of forms. Then they have to fill out a lot of forms. And then they go up to the next level of government, they got to fill out a lot of forms. And by the time it gets to where it's supposed to go, nothing happens. We have government health here. Our life expectancy, if you don't count AIDS, is the lowest in the world. Here. We are worse off than people in Haiti. Not only physically, but of the heart, our spirit, our reason to live. No, you don't want the government taking care of you. I do not speak untruths. Our land, held in trust by the federal government, so we can't get loans, so we can't get businesses. That's some more paperwork you have to apply for. Our casino, the money goes first to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, then we have to write proposals to utilize the money. It's a never-ending cycle of poverty, dependency on the government. And in order for you to get ahead, you have to be like a congressman. You have to take bribes. You have to steal money. Taxpayers' money. So America is no different than this Indian reservation. You're dependent on the government now, and you're getting what you deserve. But every time you try to get away from the government, they'll kill you. Or put you in prison. Or let you become an American. If you catch my drift. Because you're the new Indian. You're the new American Indian. Congratulations. Welcome to the club. This land is beautiful. Belongs to us. And we should learn to take care of it by fighting for her. She's worth it. And so are we.
Dear citizens of America, could you really be this stupid? Really? Millions of Americans in this country, and only like 5 get a chance at running for president? You have 2 choices at the end that we get to choose from. How is that logical? I say we must stop voting. None of them should win. There is no law saying that we must vote. So next time the brainwashed people of America elect another idiot to office, stand up and say, "You are not my president." It's a shame this has gone on so long. So until these corrupt laws get changed, we should refuse to vote. Fix these laws that keep the rich rich, and the poor hungry. We outnumber them. Do you not see this? There are thousands of them controlling millions of us. How is that possible? Are we that blind? Are we that stupid? They take our money and tell us what to do? And we do it. Why? They make crooked laws we follow. Why? They fine us with penalties we pay them. Why? Enough is enough, America. Quit allowing this to go on. We outnumber them. Remember that. We have a war that is over, but we are still dying and killing overseas. It's done right in front of your eyes. We don't do a thing about it. So this year, stand up. Stand up for your rights. Don't vote. Ricky G is right. If we don't change now, we are doomed. It's time to clean house. And like they say, out with the old, and in with the new. God bless us all. God loves us all. So why can't we simply start loving each other? We are all under one sun, one God. We all share one world, with the billions other species. So let's start the change, starting now. Let's fix this country, so we can become what we used to be, that is, the greatest country in the world. Thank you all so much.
America, land of the free and home of the brave. But is this really true? Or is it just a memory of what our ancestors earned through blood, sweat, and tears? Our forefathers said things like, "Don't tread on me, live free or die," and they meant it. Today we say, "Go along to get along. Don't rock the boat. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't." Who came up with stuff like this? And why do we go along with it? I choose no devil at all, thank you. In just 100 years, we have changed as a people. This America bears no resemblance of the America my grandparents described to me. When did freedom and justice for all become freedom and justice for some? When did innocent until proven guilty become guilty with no proof necessary? Folks, Hitler, Stalin, Mao, Mussolini, they were never this upfront or brazen before they did what they did. Franklin Delano Roosevelt said it best when he said, "Presidents are not elected, they are selected." Think about that for a moment and understand, is Coke or Pepsi really a choice? Do you feel like you have a choice there when I offer you Coke or Pepsi? Now don't get me wrong, I'm a proud American, but I am ashamed of my government. Please help me wake up Americans all around you.
I am Hörður Torfason. I come from Iceland. I am a person who belongs to no political parties, nor religious ones. And I'm the person who started like kind of a revolution in Iceland on the 6th of October 2008. And I kept it running with 3 demands. 4 or 5 months. That is to say, we got away the government. We got a new government, and people in high places that had been very corrupt. We are all dealing with the same problem worldwide. This is a globalization of few companies and IMF. We are fighting for our lives. We have a choice. Either we accept these conditions or we fight it. We don't fight it with riots. We don't fight it with fire. We don't fight it with violence. To deal with the non-violence part, what I did in Iceland, and they started throwing rocks at the police. But the people wearing orange walked in front and made a wall in front of the police to show we mean this. This was a very beautiful thing to do because people were throwing rocks. And I think in that part we won the heart of the police. We fight it with reasons, information. We have the technology, we have the brains to do it, so let's do it. And each and every one of us has a part in it. To the Greek people, you have an option. Give up or fight, but fight with your brains. This is about our lives and the future of the children, of the generations, of the young people today. I mean, what's their future as it is? To the Greek politicians, listen to your people. You are working for the people, not for your private situation. Greek people, all over the world, people are following what you are doing. We are aware of it. And we send our love and we say to you, we are fighting with you. And give strong messages to the politicians to do their jobs. When they are aware of you, they think, these are my votes, so I better do something for them. Make them aware of this. We are people all around the globe doing this. So join us. We are with you in our hearts and our minds. Good luck. Thank you.
So there you go, folks. Iceland did it. We can do it too. Let's do this for future generations, the same way that our forefathers did this for us. Now, we've forgotten along the way what they've done for us. But they gave their lives and they believed truth, justice, freedom, the American way. They believed in that. They died for it. Somehow, we've lost track of that. And we need to honor their sacrifices. And we need to leave a legacy for our children like they've left for us. Just remember, united we stand, divided we fall. God bless America.
This is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end, my only friend. The end of our elaborate plans. The end of everything that stands. The end, no safe